What's good, everybody? This is Faith Wave Podcast. If I'm not mistaken, you have a podcast of your own, right?
I do.
What's the name of that podcast?
It's actually the What Would Jesus Do podcast. WWJD. Yeah, WWJD.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, Nathanael, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe how we met each other.
Yeah,
Just something interesting.
Yeah, I got you. So, okay. So my name's Nathanael. Everybody calls me V. I go by a lot of names, V fam. That's a long story. But, me and Victor have been friends for quite a while. I say about 4 years, like really good friends, I say. I think we met in the 8th grade when I moved down to Goodwill. And, I think we clicked like sophomore year, I say, is whenever we were like into basketball, really. I say that's probably when.
Awesome. And so speaking about basketball, how do you think basketball has made you like the person you are today? I know it's just a sport, but sports teach a lot of lessons. And maybe how did basketball get you into like a way to where you could get into like your spiritual journey?
Okay. Yeah, so actually I never really thought about it that way, but I can definitely say sports has definitely been a big part of my life. Growing up, I wasn't really the sporty type of guy. I wasn't into basketball. Actually, whenever I started, I was like pretty bad. Would you think I was like, I was kind of rocky, you know what I'm saying?
He wasn't the best player. Let's just say that.
I was definitely not the best player, but I think after I really saw like the potential I could probably have gotten into basketball, I kind of pursued it a lot more. I got a lot closer to wanting to get better at the sport, and I say that, it kind of showed me like getting closer to something could actually benefit you, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And I think seeing your will for something so bad, like that, just determination and that drive, whenever, we played basketball, because at first, obviously you weren't into it as much as you eventually became. So I saw that, I had that same determination. I had that same drive for myself. And sometimes it's hard to find people with that same drive. And so whenever I saw that in you, I was like, okay, like this kid actually likes basketball. We could actually make him a little bit better. And so then from there, I was like, I see an opportunity to where we can grow this friendship, but to where we can also get you something that's beneficial for you. Mm-hmm. And that's like getting better at basketball and also, building that friendship, that relationship, because I could pour into you and you could pour into me in different aspects. And so, yeah, I just saw somebody who wanted to do that also. And I kind of pursued that a little bit more.
Yeah.
What's your point of view on that?
So it's kind of funny. I like our story, like how we became friends. It was definitely very heartfelt whenever like we started that journey. I remember the day like you're telling me that you wanted to go work out, and I think that brought us a lot closer. And just like hanging out a lot, just like definitely in the summer we definitely like got closer, especially to the Lord. I say like late night talks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we had our ups and downs and stuff like that, but that definitely grew us closer together. Like we definitely dealt with it like how God wanted us to deal with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Especially in basketball too.
No, for sure. And so like with sports, right, it's a very disciplined, basketball is a very disciplined sport. You have to train a lot. You have to make sure that you're doing everything so that you could be the best that you can be. Which is the same for your spiritual life and even just different businesses, right? So would you say that there's any parallels between like this sport and the work that you put in for basketball and all that time and effort that you put into that? Is there anything equivalent in, like business or in your spiritual life, any parallels in the discipline it takes to hold yourself up to a high standard?
I definitely say so, just because just as in your spiritual life, you have to be connected. You have to, stay consistent, because if you're not consistent, you're not going to grow. And same thing with sports. You gotta practice that move every day to get better at it. And it's just like our spiritual lives. It's, you gotta read a word and you gotta put that into practice into your everyday life. Because I mean, the Bible is basically as he says, it's a what is the word I'm thinking of?
navigation system,
yeah,
a
like
roadmap.
yeah, like a direction, a map,
Yeah.
and then that's how he wants you to live. And he knows that it's not always going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Like that move's not always going to work, but there's other things.
Yeah, there's combats to it.
There's
For sure. That's a really good point you play out, because obviously I remember every time we would 1v1, I remember I would do that same move. It was that
Right.
Kevin Durant crossover. It was
Right.
like through the
Yeah,
legs.
through the
then
legs,
hit
and then
with
you
the-
hezzy,
and then the cross.
the cross. Yeah, it was always that same move.
And so I practiced it over and over
Right.
and over and over again. Even
Right.
if it wasn't 1v1s, we just practiced that move.
Right.
And so whenever we got into the 1v1s, where it was like, okay, you have to challenge me and you have to stop me from scoring.
Right.
Eventually, after I did that cross, between the legs, you knew that the
I
cross
already
was
knew it was
coming.
coming. Yes, sir.
So sometimes I would just have to do the cross and then just go.
yeah.
So I feel like in the same way, spiritually, there's places and times where you can say something and you have to say something. And then there's places where you can back off. Just for example, like if somebody was doing something wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a place and a time for you to, say, okay, hey, that's wrong. Don't do that. And then there's also a place for you to be like, okay, like I'm just going to let it go right now and we can talk about it in public.
Yeah.
Right. There's a place where you want to talk, and there's a place where, also your tongue can get you in trouble. So you
Right.
want
Just
to
kinda
not hold
step
back.
back.
So I think that the parallels kind of cross there and in that, sort of way. And
Most
you have to have
definitely.
discipline for that too. And that's where you get the word of God, to tell you, what you should do and what you should not do.
Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely.
counter moves.
Definitely. It's definitely like a spiritual thing. It's knowing when to go and when to kind of, step back and
Yeah.
kind of visual your space.
Yeah. Can you share a personal experience where your faith has played like a significant role in like a business decision or like a success decision that you've had to make, or even like a sports decision that you've had to make, like where you're like, okay, this is where my faith comes in handy, and I don't think I could make this decision if I didn't have faith or my spiritual life in check?
I would say like moving into college.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's definitely where role I played, because I didn't know if I wanted to leave home or not.
Yeah.
I felt like I did everything I could at home spiritually, and I felt like I was kind of stuck in the same place going through the loops, and I just think I needed to get away for a bit. And I'm here now, and it's kind of helped me grow in a lot of ways I didn't think I was ever going to. So I think a big part of that was my faith of, praying every night and asking God like for direction. And he definitely gave me that direction.
Yeah, that's good. I can totally agree with that, because it's kind of like a blur right now. But I remember just that last stretch of senior year where we were like, okay, like this is a transition to where you're leaving high school and you're going to college. Like this is going to look like a totally different life. Like you're not going to live the same anymore. And it's just like entrusting God that, you're going to the right college, that you're making the right decisions, that you're moving into the right neighborhood. Like literally any decision that was going on at that time, you felt like was like, okay, Lord, I need you.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times I didn't really feel like it was clear and cut, like, okay, the Lord's calling me here. You know what I mean? Like there was always that doubt. I was like, Lord, I prayed so hard for like the Lord to give me direction and be like, yes, you need to be there. You need to pursue this degree. You need to pursue that degree. And it was just really hard at that point in time. And, honestly, I don't know where I would have been without my faith in that
most definitely.
situation. And also I think that it really helped, though. I talk about a lot how my senior year, I kind of just devoted my senior year to the Lord, like not to sports, not to idolize sports. I think that really helped manage the important decisions that I had to come across later on in the later stretch, whenever sports was done, those critical decisions, like where are you going to college?
Right.
What are you going to study? All those decisions.
Right. I like how you said that, like how, you didn't prioritize something that wasn't going to last forever.
Yeah.
I feel like prioritizing something that's not going to last forever is going to hurt you in the long run, because when it's gone, it's really just a memory.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And I don't know. I feel like
that's good.
I feel like that's something a lot of people struggle with too nowadays. And I just feel like prioritizing God is like, it's always going to be there. Like he's always waiting for you. Like he's never leaving you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, for sure. I was having a conversation with Aiden. I told him, I can dive a little bit into more detail. I told him my senior year, like all throughout high school,
Mhm.
I'm sure you were the same way. Like you idolized sports, you idolized just different things, like worldly things, like whether it
Yeah.
was just like, I don't even want to say, but you would just prioritize worldly things.
Yeah.
And you would go towards that, and you're like, okay, I'm living life. Like high school is never gonna end. Like this is a blast. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so once we got to junior year summer, I was like, okay, like this is bound to end. Like,
Yeah.
like
I
high
remember
school
this
is gonna
conversation.
end. Yeah, I'm sure we have had it. High school is gonna end. Basketball is gonna end. Like what's after
Right.
this? What's gonna happen after this? And I think you can have that same thought with different things, whether it's relationships. If you prioritize that so much, and you don't have anything over that's actually has some substance and actually has some weight to it, like your relationship with the Lord, something that's forever. If you take that thing that isn't gonna last forever,
Right.
it's bound to end. It's gonna end at some point in time.
Yeah.
And once that ends, you're gonna be heartbroken. You're not gonna have anything to lean on. And the heartbreak is so, it's so crucial. And I'm sure you've gone through heartbreak also, whether it be relationship, whether it be a loss. We have that heartbreak, and if you don't have anything set before that, like if you don't have your foundation right with the
Right,
Lord, something eternal before that, once you hit that rock bottom, it's even hard to recover now because that heartbreak hurts so much.
Right.
You're like trying to climb. You're like, what do I do?
Right.
Like, how do I numb this pain? At that point, you're trying to find something to numb the pain with instead of already having something that you can rely on.
Right.
And so that's what was really important to me. That junior year, knowing, okay, I realized that my junior year was all about sports, was all about basketball. Senior year, I have to make it about God, because once this basketball is over, I'm going to be heartbroken if I don't have anything else to lean on. And so I made it a point to have my relationship with God as a center of it, because I'd been through heartbreak before, and I knew where that road would lead me if I didn't have anything to lean on.
I like how you're saying that, because I was kind of at that same journey as where you are, and it's because of you. I kind of saw it in the middle of the season, kind of saying, I remember always praying like if this is meant to be, it's gonna be. It's always so be it. I like saying that, because it's up to Him of what we have and what we don't have, and I like God so much just because He puts things in your life that you don't want but you need. Does that make sense? Like maybe us losing that basketball game was something some of us needed. And
so talking about that, right, we talk about heartbreak, and we talk about stumbles in the road, and you need something to lean on, you need something to fall back on, that is actually good substance, that is going to carry you through some hard seasons. Can you mention a time in your life where you've gone through that heartbreak and you're maybe like, oh, I need to climb out of this, or, oh, I already have something to lean on?
Yeah, I could definitely talk about it. So it's definitely it definitely happened this past summer. It was definitely with a relationship that I wanted something to happen, but it just didn't end up in my favor. And I think I relied on that person a little bit too much, and it just hurt a lot more whenever it just didn't work. And I think during that time I kind of lost kind of my way, but not too far to where it was hard for me to go to God to it, about the problem. I say that our youth pastor, Mr. Anderson, definitely helped me do that. I know he doesn't know about it, but it's just something he said way back when, was just kind of go to God with all your problems. Like, He wants to hear your heartbreak. Like, He's there for you to talk to Him, not just to thank Him, but to also say, hey, He's a healer. And so, I mean, it wasn't hard for me, but it was also, it's hard. I know He's there to listen, but it's also hard for me to speak out how I feel.
For sure. I understand that. And I mean, we can talk about this all day long and say, oh, this is what you're going to have to do, and this is what you're not going to have to do. But until you're faced with that heartbreak, until you're faced with something that hurt you that bad, you're not going to realize how hard it actually is.
Right. Until you're actually in that moment.
Because you could say, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But until you're actually in that mud, you're not going to realize, oh, I actually need something to help me out with this. To kind of ease that a little bit. The other day I was in a business class, and it's funny that we watched this there. But I also do go to a Christian university, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
but,
right.
And also I have a question about universities here in a second.
I got
you. We were watching this video, and it was Francis Chan. I'm not sure if you know who that is, but he's a pastor.
Right.
And I'm sure probably a lot of you guys have seen this illustration before. It's a very famous illustration. And so basically, I don't have a rope with me right now, but let's just use this as a point of instruction. So he has this rope, and he's like, okay, just imagine that this is a life, this cap right here that we see. This is our life. We worry so much about what's going on in this little bitty part of our life right here that we don't see what's going to happen next.
Right.
We live in this life, this moment so much that we miss what's next and what's after this. That kind of changed something inside of me. It kind of flipped a switch in me where it was like, man, that is actually true. Like, if I spend so much time worrying about this part right here, what is this part going to look like? What is that part going to look like? If I don't focus on God and having something that's substantial right here, this could be changed forever. And so it's really important not to focus so much on this part right here, and to just be like, okay, like if I focus on God at this point right here, all of this can literally change forever. And I think you have to look at it in that way. I'm not doing this and I'm not showing that as like a point of like, oh, you need God in your life. I'm looking at it as a point of like actually lock in, like realize like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, not to get too deep, but like seriously, if you sit down and think about it, like we're living this part right here. Like, you have to realize like what's going to happen after this. Like we're not guaranteed this day. If I were to die tomorrow, this whole thing right here is what I have left. So that just kind of changed my perspective a little bit, and it changed kind of like my way of how I see heartbreak. And I'm like, okay, like now I need to lock in, in my everyday. I need to, seek the Lord with everything, because that's the only way to salvation.
Most definitely. I definitely like how you gave that illustration. I did see that. But you're right. I mean, God could change like many different obstacles that you can't face, that you never thought that you could face. And, there's been points in my life that I never thought I could overcome. But I mean, I'm here now. I mean, I'm happier than ever. Everything's going pretty okay. But, there's still bumpy stuff in the road. Yeah.
Oh, can you like share some routines, just any specific practices that you have in your day-to-day, kind of flow that help you in not only your spiritual journey, but like your business, your success, and just being somebody who is worth, having a conversation with?
So I basically start off thanking God every day I wake up. I mean, it's always a blessing to, wake up and, have a fresh start. And the past is in the past. You're in the now. You're trying to work to figure out what you're really wanting to pursue, And so, that I just thank God. I'm like, God, thank you for waking me up today. And one problem I'm having right now is just, stepping away from my phone. Like sometimes you like get on your phone right away, you're just scrolling, and I feel like that's kind of like a distraction of, what I'm trying to pursue. So what I do for work is, I'm a waiter, and in that industry, I get to talk to a lot of people. And so I meet tons of people, especially where I'm at, from out of town, other states. And I just kind of see it takes a lot of patience, definitely more than others. And that has actually helped me with my own patience of, helping others, or, helping them find whatever they need to find. And I'm definitely blessed that, God gave me this opportunity of this job, because I definitely was struggling when I got here finding a job. It took me quite a bit. And, I remember one prayer, I was like praying on my knees. I was like, God, I need to find a job. The next day I got one right away.
Wow, that's good.
And so
provider.
And he just provided for like things I didn't think I was ever going to do. And, seeing how other people live their lives, it kind of showed me how I want to, have my life together. And, it kind of gets me like a base of where I want to be and what steps I need to take.
Yeah.
And what I do every night is, I tell God, I'm like, hey, this is what I need to get to, but I'm not doing it without you, because I have been on the road of, I've been trying to do it on my own and it just doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And I've always fell into that way of leaving him. But I'm so glad, like, he's always there waiting for me to come back. And it's also reading the word. I mean, even if it's just like a chapter a day, there's always a meaning to a chapter.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't click then, it might click in the future.
Yeah.
And so I just think he works in mysterious ways of, there's been people in my life that have came to me and wanted answers, and I didn't think I would have answers until I, really looked back, and God has gave me scriptures to, give out to them, and it's helped so many people.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's in that sincere time of, being with the Lord and asking him and constantly seeking his face, to where you store that in your brain, you store that in your heart. And, when people come to you, whenever people are hurting, they don't go to the people who they were, partying with, all that stuff. They go to the people who, actually have some substance for them and are actually going to help them. And I think that was a big part to where whenever I went through heartbreak, I was like, I want to be that person now to help, who helps people.
Somebody. Yes,
because
right.
I know that heartbreak.
Yes.
I know what that felt like. So I want to be that person who helps others whenever they're in that situation.
Definitely.
Right. So that's where another way of, like, failure can be your biggest teacher.
Right.
So I find that awesome. So yeah, speaking about teachers, I told you I was going to ask you about universities. That was one of the biggest concerns that we had. That's one of the biggest concerns that high school kids have is, what college am I going to go to? Right. So I know I struggled with that for sure. I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't know what I was going to do. I called on the Lord, obviously he called me to ORU. And so whenever we were leaving, I kind of had this burden in my heart. I was like, Lord, like, I feel for my friends that are going to secular university. Like, what is that going to look like for them? Like, how is their faith going to go? Because obviously the faith is the most important thing that you can have in your life.
Most definitely.
So that you can build a family, so that you can build your business, so that you can be successful. That is the substance that you have to have. That is a rock that you have to have, is your faith. So I was like, Lord, like, please provide for my friends. Give them good people to hang around. Just help their teachers be on the right path, help them find something that is good and worthwhile there while they're at college. And, you can also get into that same slip at a Christian university. You can get caught up in the motion. You could be like, oh, it's just another chapel. It's just another worship service. Oh, it's just another message. So it's not just for a secular university, but what are the challenges of being at a secular university and having to find your new church, your new youth group? Just, it's not the same as a Christian college, but what would that look like?
So the youth I have not figured out, but the church was pretty simple. I go to Life Church, and I was introduced Life Church by Matthew and his brother is actually part of the band, and he kind of showed me like a lot of the things, like, hey, like, I play in the band, come to this church, like, it's a really good church. I love it. It's actually it definitely has helped me grow in my spiritual life. And with the teachers, it definitely was hard, because a lot of the teachers don't really care about the religion, about any religion really, which kind of, like, I was already set in stone where I was like, they're probably not gonna make sense. And I think the one big problem I had was I had like a trans teacher. So it was kind of different just because we came from a small school that I wasn't used to. And just like, she was an English teacher, and it was just kind of weird just being around. But I try to put a lot of like my beliefs into whatever the assignment was. It was a lot of like self assignments, like, hey, what is this about you? And I like that. I like that that she did that, and I gotta express, how I really felt. and it made me realize of how I could grow more in my spiritual.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's awesome. So would you say it was challenging
It
going to university, which, you know, is secular?
Yeah, I definitely say it was challenging. Definitely finding friends that kind of fit your perspective on life and the same drive you want. Because a lot of the kids there, I mean, they might know who Jesus is, but are you really for him? And that kind of hurt me because, I mean, I was definitely the same way. But I just really wanted somebody that would have the same drive as me.
Yeah.
As getting closer and, you know, talking about this as you and me talk about this right now. It's definitely been challenging. There's very few people there.
Faith, yeah. Yeah. Man, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I would say, you know, if you're stuck in that decision of, you know, where you're going to go to school at, either way, you're going to have to worry about something.
Right.
You know, if you're going to a Christian university, you're going to have to realize, okay, hey, like I have to actually love the Lord.
Right.
I can't get stuck in the motion of just going to chapel, you know, going to these different prayer events. Like you have to be intentional. You have to have that first love feeling with the Lord. Right. And so you can get stuck in that motion. And, you know, honestly, I've got stuck in that motion while being at ORU too. It's just like, it's just a routine. It's a rhythm, homework, chapel, you know, pray, you know, you kind of get numb to it. And so it's important to sometimes just step back and be like, okay, like I actually need to come into this with an intentional heart. And so there's that. And then also if you're going to a secular university, you're going to have to take into account not everybody there believes in the same things that you do. Right. There's people who are going to try to stir your beliefs. There's people who are going to just bash on your beliefs. That's just the way it goes.
Right. But isn't all that bad because I've met a lot of people that have they're hungry. They're hungry for that word. They're hungry for more because a lot of college kids are lost and they don't know how to go through challenges without God. And it amazes me how much God can provide for you. Definitely in struggles. And I've had a couple of friends come to me and I'm like, hey, just read this. And it's definitely helped them, you know, keep a positive mind. And, you know, it doesn't hurt, you know, reading like a chapter a day. Yeah. And that's why I try to tell them, be like, hey, like he wants you to come to him. Yeah. He's just waiting at that door.
That's good. That's good. And so to end it off, we're going to have you answer a question. And so actually it's not really a question. This is more of a, just tell us, right? Okay. So what would you say, whether it's sports, whether it's business, whether it's success, whether it's spiritually, what's something that you want to tell us? What's something interesting that you would like to tell us? Whether if it's like the way that the Lord has provided for you in some way, whether it's like a funny sports story that you have, whether it's something successful that the Lord has brought you through, whatever it may be.
And that's pretty tough.
Yeah. I kind of want to get into a nice little conversation here to end it off with you.
Yeah. So I would say, I could say that you should definitely keep close to people that want to keep you motivated in the same drive as you. Because if you don't, and these guys are partying while you have a mindset of doing something great, as in have a good job, you know, make 6 figures, and these guys are worried about, you know, like vaping, smoking, drinking, having a fun time, you have to separate yourself from those people and find people that have that same motive as you, because those are the people that are going to benefit you and help you grow. And those people are going to, you know, show you the right direction. I mean, there's going to be rights from wrongs with you, but that's just a way of learning. Like he said earlier, like failure is a way to success. Like you can't have just success. Like you have to fail through the process. So I say definitely keep those friends close to you. And I say that's
good. Yeah, that's good. Oftentimes whenever people have a motivational speech or just anything of that nature, that's the first thing you got to have is good people around you, good people surrounding you, and that's crucial.